Hey, kindergarten friends, welcome back. So, this is going to be chapter 4 and chapter 5 of our novel, Season of the Sandstorm. Now, it's been a while since we read, so let's bring back our memory bank of ideas. Are you ready? Okay. So, who are our characters right now? That's right, Jack and Annie. Do you remember where they went? That's right, someplace hot with sand. And they went to the Golden Age. Do you remember that? And they were near a town called Baghdad. But they weren't in Baghdad yet. They were still where? In the desert. That's right. It was hot and sandy. And remember, I asked you to remember the name Mamoon? And we didn't know what a Mamoon was. But we do now, don't we? Because in the last chapter, we learned that Mamoon is a guy. Right. A guy who was bringing back goods from Greece and all over the world to sell in the city of Baghdad. Spices, jewels, all sorts of things. And so he was with what they called a caravan, or his group of camels. And so Jack and Annie helped him out. They gathered, do you remember what that fruit was that they shook from the tree? That's right, dates. They gathered dates for him. And they told him that they were in the desert because, that's right, their mom and dad forgot them. Not good. And so they were going to catch a ride into the city because they were meeting with who? If you say the king, that's pretty close. His name is the Caliph, the all-powerful Caliph. So we left off, and they were about to get on the ships of the desert. Are they really on a big boat? Is that the ship? No. The ship of the desert is a camel. You got it. That's right. So they're going to get on these camels, and are they going to ride during the day or at night? If you said at night, you're right. Why would they ride at night? Because it's really hot during the day, isn't it? So it would make more sense to ride at night. Okay, so they're going to ride these ships of the desert, and we're going to find out what happened. Do you remember how Annie felt about the ships of the desert? Was she happy or not happy about it? She loved camels. And poor Jack. Jack was not too wild about this idea. So today in your reader response journal, what I would like you to do is I would like you to draw how the characters felt about this. Okay? So how did the characters feel about riding the camels? And then as we go along, I would just like you to illustrate what you hear me talking about, because in the next chapter, it's going to get crazy. So right now, ships of the desert. And do your best. Camels are really hard to draw. So draw like a big circle. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to give you a little. To draw a camel, I draw like a circle with a hump on it. And then I just draw like 2 lines up with another big circle. And then lines down for their legs. And they do have pretty knobby knees. They do have a little tail. And then you could just draw. And Jack and Annie will be easier to draw because they'll have on those big. And they'll just sit there like that. So you could draw it. Can you see? There you go. Doesn't have to be fancy. Okay, do your best. Here we go. Ships of the desert. The camel riders all silently watched the sun set over the faraway dunes. As the fiery ball slipped beneath the horizon, the desert was flooded with red light. As soon as the sun disappeared, the air grew much cooler. Mamoon stood up. "It's time to go," he said. The camel riders put out their fire. In the growing darkness, Mamoon helped them saddle up their animals and load them with baggage. Then Mamoon came over to Jack and Annie. "You can ride those 2 sisters," he said, pointing to 2 camels kneeling in the sand. "Climb on, then come to the front of the line and ride with me." Jack and Annie walked over to the 2 camel sisters. Each had reins hanging from her neck. Saddles made from colorful cushions were piled high on their humps. Annie patted the wiry tan color of the fur of one of the camels. The camel looked at Annie with big eyes and fluttered her thick eyelashes. "Hey, cutie," Annie said. The other camel nuzzled Annie's neck. "Hey, beauty," Annie said to the other. "You want some attention too?" "Cutie and beauty," said Jack. He didn't find either camel particularly cute or beautiful. Annie climbed onto Cutie's saddle cushion and picked up the reins. "Let's ride," she said. Cutie rose awkwardly up from a kneeling position to a full stand. "Oh, wow," said Annie, towering over Jack. "She's really tall." Jack started to climb onto Beauty, but the camel caught but the camel caught an end of its headcloth and began chewing on it. "Stop that," said Jack, pulling the cloth away from her. Beauty opened her mouth wide and flashed rows of sharp teeth. Jack drew back. "Don't be afraid," said Annie. "Easy for you to say," said Jack. "Yours likes you." "Don't worry, Beauty likes you too," said Annie. "I can tell." Annie's camel began ambling toward the other camels waiting to head off into the desert. "Come on, Jack. It's really fun once you're moving," she called. "Fun," muttered Jack. "Right." He held on to the ends of his head cloth and put his leg over Beauty's hump. The camel eyed him suspiciously. She swished her tail, slapping his back. "Hey!" said Jack. Jack tried to get comfortable on the saddle cushion, but Beauty spat at him and made a weird screeching sound. "Quiet," said Jack. He hooked his shoulder bag onto the saddle horn. Then he was finally settled. Beauty turned her head and started chewing on his leather bag. "No, don't!" yelled Jack. He tried pulling the bag away, but Beauty played tug-of-war. "Come on, let go," Jack said. "Give it back, stupid." "Do you really think she is stupid?" Jack jumped. Mamoon had ridden up behind him and was watching as he tried to get his bag from Beauty. Jack was embarrassed. She won't let go of my stuff," he said. Mamoon grabbed the strap of Jack's bag. He clucked his tongue and the camel let go. She groaned as Mamoon hooked the leather bag back onto the saddle horn. "For thousands of years, camels like this one have carried people across the desert," said Mamoon. "She is truly a miracle of nature." Some miracle, thought Jack. "She can drink 2 barrels of water in 10 minutes, said Mamoon, "and then go for a week without drinking again. She can live many days without food, too." "Really?" said Jack. "She is well suited for travel in the desert," said Mamoon. "Her thick eyebrows protect her eyes from the glare of the sun. Her long eyelashes and the fur around her ears keep out the wind-blown sand." "Cool," said Jack softly. "Her feet are so tough they do not feel the heat of the desert," said Mamoon. "And they are so big that they keep her from sinking down into the loose sand." Said Jack. "She can carry 500 pounds of baggage on her back," said Mamoon, "and travel 100 miles in a single day." "That's a lot," murmured Jack. Mamoon tugged on the camel's reins and clucked his tongue. Beauty breathed heavily as she rose up on her long, powerful legs to her full height. Mamoon looked at Jack. "We must respect and honor her," he said. "In many ways, she is superior to us, no?" Jack nodded. He thought of the words of Merlin's letter. "To succeed in your mission, you must be humble." He patted the camel. "Good girl, Beauty." Mamoon clucked his tongue again to coax the camel forward. Perched high on his saddle, Jack rocked from side to side. He did not feel at all safe, but he stayed calm. Beauty ambled over to Cutie. The 2 sisters stood together and snorted. The desert sky was bright with stars. Mamoon called to his men, and the caravan started moving forward. The camels walked with a swaying motion. They moved 2 big feet on one side, then 2 big feet on the other side. Jack gripped the horn of his saddle as ships of the desert rocked from left to right. There they are, traveling in the night. So right now, if we stop and think about our character's feelings, Annie is feeling excited, happy, enjoyable, and Jack's feeling a little unsure, nervous, better than he was, not calling the camel names anymore. "Isn't this fun?" said Annie, rocking alongside him. "Sort of," said Jack, shivering. Actually, he wasn't having any fun at all. He felt seasick and was freezing in the night air. Also, he was worried about their mission. Would the Caliph meet with them? If he did, how could they help him? Spread wisdom to the world. And if Baghdad was very far away, how would they ever find their way back to the treehouse? Mamoon slowed his camel until he was riding between Jack and Annie. When I was a boy, I spent many cold nights in the desert riding with my father on journeys to the west, he said. At first, I, too, thought camels were foolish. I always longed for more blankets and for a smoother ride. I wished to be back in Baghdad in my own warm bed. Jack smiled. He liked the caravan leader, but over time, I have come to love the cold desert nights. And Mamoon, now, when I am sleeping in my own warm bed in Baghdad, I long to be here instead. I wish to be reading the wind and the stars. How do you read the stars? Asked Annie. They have their own language, said Mamoon. At this moment, we are heading east toward the goat star. He pointed at the star. Jack couldn't tell which star was the goat star, but he was filled with wonder. Thousands of tiny lights twinkled in the black dome of night. There were more stars than Jack had ever imagined. Some looked close enough to touch. Mamoon started singing a song. The other camel riders joined in. Jack couldn't understand the words, but the tune was soothing. The camels seemed to sway to the music. Jack stopped worrying about how they would get back to the treehouse, and he found he was actually enjoying the fresh desert air. He started to relax. Jack, Annie said softly, guess what? We just solved the first mystery in Merlin's letter. Ride a ship of the desert on a cold, starry night. Yes, said Jack happily, and it's really fun. Suddenly, a fierce shout came from the distance. Jack sat up straighter. His heart thumped. Bandits! One of the camel drivers shouted. All right, I'm going to let you pause your video right here, and you can click over to the next video, which is Chapter 5, Bandits, and I'll see you in a minute for that video.